Another day, another story. When a chemist discovered that carbon atoms could be used to date ancient remains, he devised a method that upended archaeology. In the late 1940s, a chemist at the University of Chicago suspected that he could calculate the age of an object using simple calculations based on its carbon-14 content, or that of the surrounding material. So Willard Libby borrowed a few random objects from museums with verified ages, a sandal found in a cave in Oregon, linen wrappings from the Dead Sea Scrolls, and even a charred piece of bread from Pompeii, and tested his theory. The dates matched, and the radiocarbon dating revolution was launched. Libby received a Nobel Prize for the discovery in 1960. Welcome to Tabo Eminent channel. Before radiocarbon dating, humans' ability to date prehistoric objects was extremely limited. You could argue that anything before the 6th century BC was pretty much a case of educated guesswork, says Sturt Manning, director of the Cornell Tree Ring Laboratory. When did the Neolithic show up in Britain? When did people arrive in North America? There was zero basis of knowledge other than it was a really long time ago. How radiocarbon dating works? Radiocarbon dating has gone through waves of refinement that make it much more accurate and nimble today, but the basic premise remains the same. Carbon-14 is a radioactive, unstable form of carbon that has 2 extra neutrons. All living things, from plants to animals, absorb carbon-14. When they die, they stop absorbing it, and the remaining carbon-14 decays at a known rate, or half-life, 5,730 years. By measuring the amount of carbon-14 left, scientists can estimate how long ago the organism died. Carbon-14 dating isn't limited to humans and other animals. Some objects, like the sandal and charred bread that Libby originally tested, were made of plant material, so the method can estimate their age. If an object, like a clay pot, was not made from organic material, scientists can apply radiocarbon dating to organic material found around it. How radiocarbon dating has improved. By the 1960s, scientists discovered some complications in the process. They realized that the amount of radiocarbon in the air varies over time, based on solar activity, Manning explains. To control for that, they needed something to calibrate the radiocarbon method against. They settled on tree rings. The newer method allowed scientists to independently date things, accurately, and created a new understanding of prehistory. For example, they discovered that the Neolithic period is thousands of years older than previously believed. In one of the first big uses of radiocarbon dating in North America, scientists at a dig in Nevada discovered that the bones of the people who lived there were from a completely different time period than the animals found there. Archaeologists had assumed that the animals and people coexisted, but this new information provided an accurate timeline for what is now Tule Springs Fossil Beds National Monument. New tech allows dating very small samples. By the 1980s, scientists had found another tool that further revolutionized radiocarbon dating: accelerator mass spectrometry, AMS. Although expensive, AMS allowed scientists to more precisely date objects with just a fraction of the previous sample size. All sorts of things could now be dated that couldn't in the past, Manning says. That radically changed the ability to ask questions in archaeology and get the answer you wanted, such as, when were people living in this particular cave? But they still weren't able to pinpoint longer stretches of tens of thousands of years. That started to become possible when scientists incorporated Bayesian statistical analysis into their method. Today, researchers can establish the chronological order and calendar age among past events, which has had far-reaching impacts. Fields transformed by radiocarbon dating archaeology. The impact on the field of archaeology was instantaneous, and remains profound today. For example, Manning was working at a major indigenous site near Toronto that had been confidently dated at about 1500–1530. But when his team ran samples from the area using radiocarbon dating, they discovered the time period was much later, around the year 1600. This meant that interactions between indigenous peoples and the introduction of European goods occurred much later than previously thought, prompting a re-evaluation of that period across northeastern North America. Oceanography scientists have used carbon-14 to study sea life, including plankton. They have even learned how ocean currents circulate around the planet by dating traces of sea life that flowed through them. Climate science radiocarbon dating has been critical in understanding the role of carbon emissions in climate change. Fossil fuels are composed of decomposing plants and animals that are millions of years old, so their carbon-14 levels have nearly completely decayed. When fossil fuels are burned and released into the atmosphere, they dilute carbon-14 levels, providing clear evidence of human impact on the environment. History. In addition to transforming our understanding of prehistory, radiocarbon dating has been used to verify or refine more recent historical events. For example, researchers have used the technique to establish a more accurate chronology of Egyptian pharaohs dating back to the reign of Djoser, which began between 2691 and 2625 BC. Health researchers use carbon dating to track different diseases. For example, they can find out when Alzheimer's plaques started to form in the brain, how chemotherapy shrinks cancer, and the progression of tumors. Forensics radiocarbon dating has even found use in law enforcement, helping to solve cases ranging from homicides to illegal logging. It can help confirm time of death, as well as which year a tree was cut down. Radiocarbon dating, also known as carbon-14 dating, is a powerful tool that has revolutionized the study of ancient history. It enables scientists and archaeologists to determine the age of organic materials, such as wood, bone, or textiles, by measuring the decay of carbon-14, a radioactive isotope of carbon. How it works. Carbon-14 formation. Carbon-14 is formed in the atmosphere when cosmic rays interact with nitrogen. It gets absorbed by living organisms through respiration and ingestion. Decay process. When an organism dies, it stops absorbing carbon-14, and the isotope begins to decay at a known rate, with a half-life of about 5,730 years. By measuring the amount of carbon-14 left in a sample, scientists can estimate how long it has been since the organism died. Dating range. Radiocarbon dating is most effective for materials up to around 50,000 years old. Beyond that, the remaining carbon-14 levels become too low to detect accurately. Applications in unlocking ancient history. Archaeological sites. Radiocarbon dating helps determine the age of artifacts, structures, and settlements. This helps to construct chronologies of human activity and civilization. Ancient textiles and tools. Items made from organic material, such as textiles, wooden tools, or weapons, can be dated to reveal information about ancient cultures and their way of life. Historical events. The dating of organic remains in geological layers can help to tie specific sites or artifacts to known historical events, such as volcanic eruptions, droughts, or periods of climate change. Prehistoric studies. In cases where no written records exist, like in the study of early human migration, radiocarbon dating is crucial for establishing timelines. Radiocarbon dating continues to play a critical role in the study of ancient civilizations, from the pyramids of Egypt to prehistoric cave dwellings. Its precision and application to organic remains make it invaluable in piecing together human history. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel.